Greetings, my friends. Welcome to the Rebel Moon podcast. It's Friday already, 24th of September. This month has gone really fast. Anyways, what we're going to talk about today, the media, and a few other things you should know. Now, Russia is a threat. China is dangerous. Afghanistan is going to be a breeding ground for terror. Oh yes, and the climate is going to kill us all if we don't stop going about our daily lives. And so preacheth the dregs of humanity, masquerading as the media. Now, the mainstream media, again, really is officially a left-wing propaganda machine that would put even North Korean press to shame. Now, 18 months ago, we saw it morphed into new realms of misinformation, which we call fear-mongering and stirring up panic amongst the masses, which has made lives of vulnerable people a complete and frightening misery. And they sit there on TV with this big grin on their faces as though they're not doing any harm. That's the overpaid subhuman scumbags who spread it. And they simply do not give a monkeys as long as they get the perks and as long as they get paid for showboating and satisfying their overflowing egos. Ooh, look, the TV's on mine. They all love me. Don't think so. Now, lately, as well, they've been like ghouls, haven't they? Watching the Spanish volcanic disaster. And that's in between the daily 24/7 non-stop COVID show. And today they have a new fear-mongering ploy, guys. Guess what it is? More shortages in Britain. Ooh-ha. This time it's fuel. Right, we've got fuel shortages now. They're closing the garages down. All the filling stations, Shell and BP, I think it is. So I expect a little bit of a mayhem at filling stations across the land as the sheeple all rush to fill up the cars at weekend. Even though the clowns in London have told the people, oh, don't panic, just go and buy petrol as normal. Yeah, alright. That's like trying to tell Prince Andrew that 14-year-old girls are too young for him. In other words, it's futile. Because the best way to avoid panic buying mayhem is not to broadcast it in the damn first place. But this is what the media do. And you can see these presenters, you can see them trying to hold a smirk back. You can tell they're enjoying it. They love giving bad news because they're sociopaths. They hate people. That's why they're chosen. And then again, like I said, you know as well as I do that all this shortage is being done intentionally. There is no shortages. There's a bloody glut of oil in the world before we went into lockdown. And then when we went into lockdown, for a year and a half, the glut is even more. And yet now they're trying to say there's shortages. It's the biggest glut of oil that we have ever had in history. We've mentioned this before. All these sheiks and Arabs and what have you, they were hiring big tankers out to store it offshore. They run out of places to store it, so they eventually had to reduce production, whether they liked it or not. But there's a bloody glut of oil and they're saying the shortages. There's all these big tankers that they won't let into countries. We mentioned the other day, there's lots of them off Long Beach in California. You can see that. Go onto a tracking map, maritime tracking, you'll see them all lined up down coasts of every country. A lot of them are at anchor because nothing's being allowed in or out, just the bare minimum. So all these shortages are a load of old bollocks. You know, we know it's been done intentionally, don't we? Let's do a quick connecting of dots, shall we? See, during the past week or so, we've seen all these hints about shortages, and now they're coming thick and fast. First it was food, well, they're still on about that. Then gas and electricity shortages, and now it's going to be petrol. Okay, you guys in America, we're talking about natural gas here, not the stuff you put in your car. We're talking about what you call petroleum. Now, there isn't any real shortages of anything, of course, as we said, because as we know, they're all man-made problems of part of an agenda to bring the world to another standstill. You see, now that the mystery virus hoo-ha is dying down, another bogeyman is needed to bring about another Christmas lockdown, because they want to start all this again next year. This is what they're doing. We've heard all the hints. And in fact, they've already started on that one. Started panic because there's a shortage of toys this year as well. Go bloody figure. However, I'm going to skip past that one because last warnings about a cancelled Christmas fell on deaf ears. People rushed out to buy the turkeys, and I said right here in public, don't do it, don't do it, don't listen to Boris. And they did listen to Boris. They were stupid enough to believe a compulsive liar like Boris Johnson, who promised lifting the lockdown restrictions in time for Christmas. 4 days, he said. How kind of him. But that would have given the game away, because people would have said, no, it can't be that serious if you can open the country for 4 days and then just magically make the mystery virus disappear for 4 days. And so he just backtracked like he always did. It's just one of his many broken promises. And that was it, you know. What a silly, silly billies some people are, eh? And it's all because of lack of knowledge and allowing themselves to be brainwashed by the media and lies of politicians. And that has to be stopped. And just to think, the blinkered masses, my friends, they could stop this tomorrow if they thought like us. If they simply switched off the mainstream media and there's annoying little lowlifers that present it. You know, if you want to see human scum, my friends, right, just watch the mainstream media news. Ego-tripping presenters who struggle even to read off a damn autocue. They can't even get that right. And they can't help attention-seeking by talking complete and utter crap when they're not reading off the autocue. I don't know how these people actually communicate in real life with each other. They just talk gobbledygook. And in Britain, we only have two main sources. Sky No News, Today Thanks, that's what it's called, and the BBC, the British Bullshite Corporation, or the Bigot and Bias Comic Club, if you like. You know, it's not a coincidence that the media is full to the brim with irritating little scumbags. It's done on purpose. Because it's a left-wing box-ticking exercise. To work for the BBC, for instance, you have to be self-centred egotist for a start. And you've got to be a snooty little arsehole with an arrogant, smug attitude and a smug grin on your face all the time, even when you're talking about bad things that have happened to people. And it also helps if you're as thick as two short planks and you have some kind of disability. Oh yes, and mental illness is mandatory. They're always on there talking about the mental illness. You're thinking what you're doing on an high-pressure job like that then, if you've got mental issues. But it's not, it's all box ticking. And if you're normal and you're white, forget it, you'll never get a job at the BBC. End of. Anyhow, most of us in Britain these days, we have to watch Russia Today, it's called RT Today, to get our news from the UK. How about that? And we watch Sky News in Australia instead of the left-wing communist version of Sky in Britain. Now, the see thing is, a few months ago, the Brits waited with bated breath for a new news channel called GB News, Great British News. Now, the nation rejoiced, guys, because the hype was all about rivaling the BBC and going after all the millions of people who have dumped the BBC along with the stupid TV licences. which we urge everybody to dump them. Don't pay for this crap. You encourage them. Because they get this money, guys, you don't have anything like this in America or Australia or anything. But the thing is, because they get this guaranteed something many billion of stupid license payers every damn year, they don't depend on any other revenue. So they can just do what they like. And now it's been talked over by the left-wing commies. But alas and alack, this GB News, it was like a breath of fresh air. But at the end, it was nothing but an anticlimax, which couldn't rival a late-night chat show that hardly anybody watches. They're keeping it afloat now with Nigel Farage, but the other ones have left and said it's no better than the BBC. Because within a few short months, it's basically turned into a BBC clone. It's the same non-news BS with amateur ego-tripping presenters who are just as bad. You know what I want to know? This has always puzzled me. Where on earth did he get these irritating, annoying people from? And more importantly, why? Why can't they have nice presenters like they used to do in the old days? People who could speak properly as well. These people talking gobbledygook riddles half the time, little private jokes. No, you're on TV, you talk to the public. We're not interested in you. Read the frickin' news. Read the news, that's all they have to do, and they can't even do that. I mean, do the bosses of TV and entertainment, do they really think that we like being wound up by these annoying, irritating little people? None of whom we would invite into our own homes, right? Or even talk to in our everyday lives. In fact, it's these sorts who I would normally avoid like the plague, and I'm sure you would as well. Like I say, they talk crap anyway, even when they're talking. They're not right in the head. I think a lot of them are on drugs, to be honest. That's why they're saying they all should be drug tested and go through a psychiatric evaluation, both in media, in the government, and any other public-facing job where you're a boss. You need to know that that person is sane, not like these idiots in charge. You see, the irony being as well is while they're convincing themselves that everybody likes them, they totally ignore the fact that the viewing figures, which continue to plummet as people are searching for decent alternative news sources. And they believe they're famous and they think they'll go down in history. But they will go down in history. Do you know what as? People who kill TV. They'll be there in the Rogues Gallery, Hall of Fame. However, when we think about it, we should count our blessings, guys, because it's an even worse situation in America. And this is where all this propaganda news claptrap started. And that's not my words, guys. It's their own. Listen to these people. Just let me read you this. CNN, right, telling the viewers, stop doing your own research and thinking for yourself. Oh, God. New York Times, don't go down the rabbit hole. Critical thinking isn't helping in the fight against misinformation. New York Times, one of the biggest spreaders of misinformation. What? Basically, it's telling people not to think for themselves. And in fact, you know why we're here today, guys, in this shithole? It's because of lack of critical thinking. That's what's got us to this point. People have said it before, they have lost the ability to think. You know that, and I know that. And I don't know why the rest of us have been chosen to remain sane and know how to think. But what the hell has happened to the majority of people, we don't know. It's a phenomena, and it's bizarre. But like I always say, do your own research. They're telling you not to. And when you say that, it's to prove something is true, because we do talk about some kind of otherworldly stuff here sometimes that's a little bit hard to grasp if you don't know the background about it. So yeah, you got to research so you can prove something is true to you yourself, and to gain more knowledge before, because the more you understand, the easier it gets to dodge the bullet. and they'll tell you all this propaganda just flows over you. It just runs off your back like water off a duck's back. It waterproofs you against it. It insulates you against it. But not according to Forbes. Oh yes, Forbes magazine. They say you must not do your research, though, to fully comprehend what's going on. You must not do your research to fully comprehend what... These are supposed to be journalists and they can't even write one little sentence in English. That is contradictory right from the word go. You must not do your research, though, to fully comprehend what's going on. Where are they coming from? They are telling you not to think for yourself. You've got to believe everything they say. Here's another one. MSNBC, and this is a news host called Mika Brzezinski. They went on by admitting outright that their lefty propaganda media goal by saying, this is it, listen to this, it's our job to control exactly what people think. Let me run that by you again. Because it's one of those where your jaw drops open. Like, what? Now let me say it again. Right? Mika Brzezinski said, it's our job to control exactly what people think. There you go. Straight from the donkey's mouth. It's the media's job to control what we think. In which case, guys, isn't that called false representation? They can't call themselves the media if they're doing that. That's not media. That's propaganda. That is old Soviet Union stuff. And somebody ought to sue the bloody shirt off the damn back, because it's not the media's job. The media's job is to inform people, not to control and control what they think. It's to inform. Otherwise, it's called propaganda, as everybody knows. So, at the end of the day, they shouldn't be allowed to call themselves news channels or news platforms, because they're not. And like I said, somebody sooner or later is going to get a class action, raise a bit of money and sue these idiots for everything they've got. Because they need exposing. They're doing a good job of exposing themselves, but there's still a lot of people believe every word that they say. And let's face it, I mean, they've done a really good job on controlling people's thoughts over the past year and a half, haven't they? Because they've convinced the masses to put themselves under house arrest, all because of a virus bogeyman. This virus is media-driven, and all they've done is jumped on the back of the ordinary flu seasons, which they're trying to do in October. You watch what happens, because all normal flus, all the different strains, seasonal flus, woof, they've magically disappeared, and now it's all one Delta variant. Oh, listen to this, right? I mean, it's really clear that the media and political shills are collaborating with each other about what people should know and shouldn't know. For instance, there's nothing in the British media warning the public about an agenda to introduce toll roads by charging drivers by the mile. Don't laugh. I'm dead serious. Dead serious. And guess who's behind that one? You never believe it. The grinning hyena. Remember him? The grinning hyena, war criminal, Tony Blair. Listen to this. The Tony Blair Institute for Global Change published a report calling for road pricings to be introduced. Don't forget, Tony Blair now is working for the World Economic Forum and pushing this bullshit climate change on us, which is not going to work, don't worry about it. Well, like I said, they're all firing coal stations back up because their alternative energies let them down. There's not enough to meet demand. Now listen, this little cockroacher, he said, a new system of vehicle taxation is urgently needed. As more people purchase electric vehicles, changes to taxation will be harder to manage. Hey, Blair, why don't you get a piece of rope and go and fecking hang yourself? You're not even in government and you're still lecturing us. You're a little war criminal, you got blood on your hands, and we all can't wait to see you go down to the frigging hot place to see your boss, Old Hob. See, it's funny that, because the last I heard of sales for electric cars, guys, I'm sure you did as well, they're down more than ever. And there's all this about coming that once they catch fire, that you can't put the buggers out. I mean, it was 120 gallons of foam to put one Tesla car out. And then it costs you a fortune to get them shifted because no scrapyard will take them. Because those batteries, once they get bust, that's leaking a kind of radiation out. But they're down. The public are not endeared to them at all. Plus, they're going to be ridiculously expensive and they're going to cause charging problems from home. Basically, if you buy an electric car, you need an off-road driveway, and then you have to get this thing put outside of your house. That's extra charge as well, because a different plug. You can't just plug it into your TV socket or whatever. Basically, you need a driveway because you can't run leads over a pavement. So even if you've got a front garden and a pavement, you're going to have to put a lead over it, but you can't do that. It's illegal. Because someone could trip over it, and if they did, well, more than likely they're going to sue the backside off you. And they will also have to fire up. This is what I mean about the media lies. They don't tell you this. They're just pushing agendas without thinking about what they're saying. But you'll have to fire up all the coal-powered stations again to meet this extra demand. Because we've just learned, haven't we, that their alternative energy, wind power, simply can't cut it. And that's only for normal winter fuel as well. It can't cut it, all this green energy, all these millions they spent on it, and now they're having to fire the old coal stations back up. So that's a big blow to the green agenda. Yet this is this is all part of the Great Reset. And so according to the Boris government, it's like a circus down in London. It's not really government anymore. It's a carnival freak show is what it is. But according to Boris, everybody in Britain will be driving an electric car by 2030. That's right, guys. We're all going to sell our beautiful cars for these little Mickey Mouse bullshit Toy Town cars. I mean, if you need any more proof that the inmates have taken over the asylum, there's your sign. Nevertheless, this is what they're going to do. This is a good one. You're going to pay tax per mile. This is an agenda. Tax per mile agenda. And listen to this, they got the bloody AA in it, the Automobile Association. I think you guys in America call it AAA. Same thing. The president, Edmund King, previously said a road pricing system would allow drivers to have 3,000 free miles with an extra 1,000 in rural areas before paying for a journey. 3,000 miles. Can you see where they're coming from here? Oh, you get 3,000 free miles. How many miles do you do a week? Jesus. That's very nice of you, Mr. King, by the way. Who the hell are you anyway, dickhead? And then they got the rival, the RAC. It's another motor breakdown deal. And they said eventually a road pricing system would probably use vehicle tracking technology to monitor how much we drive. You see, here we go again, Big Brother surveillance society nosing into our private lives, which has bugger all to do with them. Not the government or these idiots that are backing this absolute stupidity. Nonetheless, it proves that there are shills embedded everywhere in our society. They're still there. Some of them are going to be very hard to remove as well. Yet not one of the aforementioned sources are telling the truth about where all this electricity, extra electricity, is going to come from to charge these little Toy Town clown cars up. Because it's the same old fossil fuels that they're doing away with. That's how they intend to produce the electricity. So it's all absolute hypocrisy. And they check for it forever. I mean, you go in a filling station, boom, 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 couple of minutes, bang, you're gone. You're out of there. These bloody things, what they're going to do? You're going to be sit in your car for an hour, 2 hours or 3 hours while your car charges up. How bloody stupid. You know, we have idiots in charge who are dreaming the near impossible, with impossible timelines as well. It's just like it comes out the mouth without thinking. They simply come up with an idea, a stupid idea, without even thinking about it properly, and then they make it into law, which makes them, of course, very proud of themselves, while the rest of us, the quality of life goes down another notch yet again. And not forgetting, we the public own the bloody roads in the first place. What are they on about? We pay for them via road tax every year. And it's expensive already. But this driver, if they bring this in, will pay triple road tax, if not more, with this little Ponzi scheme that they're dreaming up. Look, 3,000 miles, work it out. It's chicken feed. Absolute chicken feed. And this adding an extra 1,000 miles in rural areas is pure bloody bunkum, dreamt up by some townie who's never ever lived in the country, probably even never drove in the countryside. Hell's bells, guys. When I was up in the Highlands, if I wanted a Chinese, it was an 8-mile round trip. An 8-mile round trip. I mean a Chinese takeaway, not a Chinese beautiful lady. Just a Chinese 8 miles round trip. Shopping, Inverness, almost 30-mile round trip. So you can see that 1,000 miles is going to soon be burnt up in rural areas, and then you start paying. Now, up in the rural places like the Highlands, the places are pretty spaced out, you know, by long distances. So this is a crazy idea, and it would drive many people off the roads, including people who have to travel to work. You know, some people do a hell of a lot of miles. I mean, 3,000 miles will do that in a couple of months, or weeks even. And then oh, well, you know what it's going to be, then stuff will go up, inflation, because the lorries will have to pay more unless they make them exempt in some way, which I doubt it. So they'll just put that cost onto whatever, the food or whatever there is they're delivering. Oh, God. Now we've got a shortage of petrol as well, so that's going to be fun. You see, the fading powers that be and the shills, because this is their idea, they're pushing against public will like we've never seen before. We've never seen them. It just seems like they're going out the way to upset people. And that's in order to save themselves so they can stay in power and they can have all the word to themselves. You see, and finally as well, you know, I was going to comment about this the other day, I forgot. But it's after watching this Australian submarine debacle with the French Macron throwing a hissy, which I believe he's still sulking from. It's really annoyed him, this, because they've been left out. And he'd recalled his ambassadors from Oz and then the US, and then he sent the ones in the US back. They're going back next week. I don't know about Oz, he's probably still sulking with them. But I mean, they're not even in the European Union. Bloody good job, because you've seen what they've done to Britain and tried to do. Anyhow, we have to ask the question, what I'm getting at, is the current batch of so-called leaders, are they mature enough to even run a country? Because my guess is no. They're not by a very, very long shot. And that goes for all of them. I mean, demonstrations of this kind of childish behaviour, I mean, it should be enough to remove them from office. Because at the end of the day, it's the ordinary people who suffer, isn't it? Just because they have a whim to sulk and stamp their little feet like a spoilt little brat. And they're ruining people's lives because of it. People like that should not be allowed any kind of power. Because it's as if people don't matter. It's as if people don't exist. As long as they can play their own little personal political game of backstabbing each other, everything's fine and dandy. And it's funny, guy, I'm going to tell you something. I mentioned this before, but it was a long time ago. It's one of my mentors who said this. I didn't really get him at the time because I didn't know what the New World Order was. because it was, like I said, it was a very long time ago. And he told me that part of this New World Order agenda was to place politicians so bad and so incompetent that a country would eventually beg to be led by a higher force or a higher source who knew exactly what they were doing. And he said to me, oh, you will know about the NWO in time to come. You know, he said, it won't be in my lifetime, but it will definitely be in yours when they attempt it. Bang, he was right. Bless him. Passed away a long time ago. He's a really clever guy. But, yeah, they knew what they were doing. And that means a one world government. A great reset, as they call it now. Now, thankfully, though, once again, people are finding out that the Great Reset and the New World Order are exactly one and the same thing, where the few privileged rule over the many by keeping them hovering just on the poverty line. It's a sick society, isn't it, guys, when a small cabal of 1% of the population owns and controls 99% of the world's wealth. It's disgusting. It's not just sick, it's disgusting. And especially when the 99% of us have to share a measly 1%, the scraps off the table. That's what's being brought down. That's why they are being brought down, and that's why they are going to crash and burn along with the little system. You know, it's always been known that sooner or later the greed would eventually get the better of them, and they'd start eyeing up our 1% of the public share to see how much of it they could steal, which they're doing now. This is why they're hinting about inflation. This is the way they rob you. Everything goes up except wages, so it leaves you with less money in your pocket. And even the old school elite said this last year, I think. The old school elite, and most of them are too old now, they're in the 90s, 100s, and most of them are dead. But the old school elite had an unwritten code that 1% was sacred. It must never ever be touched if they wanted to keep public order. Because if they did try to steal it, they would be the architects of their own downfall, because people would rise up. We saw that with the peasants' revolt, the peasants' uprising. That's what you do. You push people too far. You get to a point where you say, I can't back off any further because there's a big precipice behind me and it's 1,000-foot drop. I can't go any further. So the only thing to do is start fighting back. And like I said recently about those born into wealth and privilege, this is a fact. Family wealth is mainly destroyed by every third generation. And that's probably to the generation that's been completely spoilt, and therefore they're unable to do things for themselves because they've always had everything done to them and everything given to them, you know, all their lives. So that's all they know how to take. Well, except for the ability to go through the family fortune like water, and that's the whole idea. So every third generation you're seeing that. And this is like now when you look at the new elites in Sun Valley, you know, all the nerds from Silicon Valley and all the rest of them. These are the greedy ones. They want it all. They want it all. They can't help it. They're sick in the head. But these are entities who have taken over our society with major help from the treacherous media, which has been weaponized against the common people. You and me. And this is a media as well, guys, that would be absolutely powerless if the public would just take off the silly blinkers and pull its teeth. And you do that by simply getting your remote control and saying what I do. Feck off. Bang. And it's gone. They disappear. It's magic. It's a beautiful feeling. Just simply switch the damn thing off and go elsewhere to find entertainment and real news about what's going on in the world outside their main two subjects, which they've been repeating for an age and a bloody day now, and everybody's fed up of it. The bloody COVIDs and an overkill of unpleasant-looking politicians with kind faces. That being the kind of face that you'd like to take a frigging baseball bat to, if you get my drift. So the moral of this story, if there is one, would be this, my friends. Do yourself a favour and switch them off. And get as many people that you know to switch them off. Expose them, tell them stop listening to the Mickey Mouse stuff. Do this, my friends, and trust me on this. Do this and watch your health grow. I mean, it's surprising what subliminal stress can do to the mind and the body without you even knowing it. Well, you do know it because it comes up as other illnesses and fatigue and all kinds of stuff. I mean, stress is a killer. Stress is a very, very underestimated thing to deal with, but it can cause all kinds of problems. Now, you turn it off, you try it, and you'll be surprised how much your health gets boosted. And indeed, how your confidence grows, while at the same time you're eliminating all that fear-mongering that they're trying to put into your head. And then you start to see things clearly. As for the BBC and the rest of them, hell, we should take a bloody flamethrower to them. While the presenter propaganda peddlers and fearmongers are arrested and tried for treason, because that's what it is. They are sat there lying every day. Used to just be the politicians, didn't it? But now it's not. It's the presenters on TV. They just absolutely lie and lie and lie. And I don't like the smug little look they do when they're actually telling these lies as well. They think they're clever. You know, these are ultra arrogant. So it could never happen to them, right? Oh, you know, that's what they think. Oh, no, it can never happen. I'm on TV, I'm famous. It can never happen to me. Yeah, right. This is not the time to be tempting fate, guys. Keep telling people that. You know, I bet those folks living on La Palma Paradise in Spain thought the very same until recently when that volcano erupted and started claiming back its land. Nearly 200 houses have been swallowed up by that lava now. But you'd think 2 weeks ago they were sat there under the Spanish sun, swinging in a hammock, overlooking the Med, thinking, isn't life great? And then next minute, boom. And the same goes, Spain again, they're not having a good time down there. The poor Spaniards, this is in the southwest region of Spain, they're the latest victims of bizarre flood events that we are witnessing all over the damn planet. They've been washed out now. And there's a poor old lady there, and they're there in the street, the people dumping all their furniture and trying to sweep all the mud away, big clean up. And there's an old dear there, bless her. I could have bloody cried for her. I don't you've seen her. She's an old lady. She's in her 80s. She said, I'm just a pensioner and now I have nothing. I'm 80 odd years old and I've nothing. And you could see her. She was absolutely distraught. You know, and the people are having to clean up themselves. Not much help from the authorities whatsoever. So I hope people, the locals, I hope they raise money for that. Because if it ever happens, to say where I am, I mean, everybody would chip in. We'd get her out, we'd get her rehoused, we'd get her furniture and get her off to a good start. But you don't need that at that age, 80 odd. And she looks such a nice lady as well. You know, it's things like that. They do bring a tear to your bloody eye, don't they? But they bring anger as well. So in other words, yes, in other words, you know, it will happen to people, things like that. Not the flooding, but I mean, what we're talking about, the other volcano and that. People who arrogantly tempt fate and say it can never happen to them, they're tempting bad karma while they're doing evil instead of doing good deeds. Good deeds, my friends, no matter how small, will reward you with good karma, because we're going into a time, doesn't matter in the past. I've done thousands of good deeds in my life. You don't get rewarded because you don't expect to get rewarded for them. But we're going into this time now where this new energy is encouraging people, say, if you do good things, do something that's not selfish for somebody else, and you will be rewarded. It comes back in another way. Because especially as this negative energy around us begins to disappear, this new age of positive energy of Aquarius comes in. We're actually into it now. We're going over the threshold. This is why you're going to see all this chaos. You can see all the system falling to bits now. Shortage here, shortage there. Here a short, there a short, everywhere a shortage. Old Mac Boris had a country, E-I-E-I-O. We can't rush this thing. We have to, like we said before, we've got to sit back, put your feet up, get the bloody popcorn. I laugh at half of this stuff, what they're coming out with. Because I know it's never going to come to fruition. What I do know is they're all exposing themselves, and that's why things are going quiet, and people now are beginning to take the blingers off and saying, I don't think so. We're not going to buy this. We've been good little boys and girls for 18 months now, and now you're pushing it too far. And like I said, there is nothing behind me except rocks and sea. I can't go any further back. Therefore, I'm going to come straight through you if you don't get out my way. And that's what the public are going to do. Meanwhile, we can't rush things. We just got to watch it. And then you'll be able to tell your grandkids about it, about this time when mad people were in charge. The lunatics taken over the asylum. And the public lost their mind because they actually listened to them for a while as well. So like I forewarned, there has to be a time of disruption because we've got to kill this dystopian world that the fading elite have created for themselves, and the even worse one that they're trying to create now, because the old system is dead. It's dying. It's been dying for a long time. It can't be shored up anymore. That's why they have to get the reset and say, nothing to see here, and next minute, oh look, we're all back in power and we're all rich again. 99% of the money that has to be shared with us. That's the future. That'll be taken. You imagine what your life's going to be like when all this baloney stops. But that's it. They're fading. Definitely they're getting hurt. I've never seen them hurt like this before. And some of them have obviously lost their mind. They've just gone into total denial. Some of these world leaders, they know what's coming, and they've just lost the plot. But you know something? I have got a sneaky feeling that we will quietly but very much enjoy watching their downfall. What say you, my friends? Meanwhile, I will see you on the wind. Keep smiling, keep your chin up. Oh, and by the way, I've got a Telegram thing. I don't know whether this is the right one, but just if you've got download Telegram to your phone, which is better than WhatsApp, and look for Levi Rebel Moon. And send a message because I can send you all messages through that. Okay, my darlings, I shall see you on the wind.